Hello and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, welcome. Today I'm going to be sharing 3 more delicious dinner recipes with you. The first recipe is for Cheeseburger Bombs, and my dad actually sent me this TikTok that he saw, and that's where I got the idea for this recipe. And all you have to do is start out by grounding 1 pound of ground beef, and then once it's finished cooking, you're going to drain any excess fat from the pan. Then we're going to season it with some salt and pepper and also some onion and garlic powder. One thing that I love about this recipe is you can absolutely create it the way that you like. You can add whatever seasonings you love. Same with the meat. You can do, ground turkey or ground chicken, whatever you prefer, whatever you have on hand. And then once we add those seasonings in, we're just going to add in some barbecue sauce and some yellow mustard. And you're gonna see here, I started with a little bit of barbecue sauce. I didn't measure it. And then I end up adding in a little bit more because I wanted it to be a little bit wetter of a consistency. But again, that's gonna be to your personal taste preference. The recipe also did call for a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, which I would recommend adding. I was out and we actually had a big snowstorm when I was filming this, so I couldn't run off to the store to get any, but if you do have that on hand, I would definitely add it here. Now, my husband and I absolutely love these, and we're actually recreating them for Super Bowl, just doing a smaller portion size to be more of like an appetizer. But if you wanted to, you could absolutely do different flavor profiles. So, if you wanted to do like a taco flavored or even doing like Asian flavors using like hoisin and soy sauce, that would be great. So since I was making this for our lunch, I kept them larger. I just cut my puff pastry that I thawed according to the package directions, so just sitting out on the counter for 40 minutes, into fourths. And then I went ahead and rolled them out just slightly so it was a little bit thinner. And then you're gonna add some of your meat mixture. You wanna let it cool slightly. And then whatever cheese that you like, you could do sliced cheese. I'm using a provolone here, or you could do shredded cheese. And then you're just gonna fold up the sides of the puff pastry and seal it together and then turn it over. Now for this first one, I was having a little bit of trouble because the puff pastry does have flour on it, but then I got smart and I decided to use a little egg wash around the corners, and that made it a lot more simple to seal together. Once those are all sealed, we're going to put them on a parchment lined baking sheet, and then those are going to go into the oven at 375 for about 25 to 30 minutes. After I brushed them with the egg wash, I did top them with a little bit of coarse sea salt as well. Here they are out of the oven, and I am telling you, these were absolutely amazing. So the next recipe is for garlic noodles, and I got this recipe from Megan over at My Main Kitchen. And you're just going to start out by making some garlic chips. So I just took some olive oil and added in some very thinly sliced garlic, and then I brought that up over medium heat. So it's going to start simmering. I did start the garlic in cold oil, so that way it's going to get maximum flavor. And then you're just going to cook that until they become golden brown, and then you want to remove them from the heat. Now, you don't have to do this step, but I do recommend doing it because it gives amazing flavor at the end of the recipe. Now, I asked Megan what some of her favorite recipes are that she's created so far, and this was one of them, and I am so glad that I recreated it because it was absolutely to die for. So I will have the recipe linked below as well as a link to her channel, so make sure that you check her out if you haven't done so already. For the sauce, you're going to melt a stick of butter, and then you're going to add in some minced garlic and some red pepper flake, and then you're just going to let that cook until the garlic becomes fragrant. Now, the original recipe calls to add in oyster sauce and soy sauce. I added in the soy sauce, but I could not find oyster sauce, so I used hoisin. And I actually talked to Megan. She said she's done that before too and liked the results. So I definitely recommend doing it. It turned out really well. Then you're going to add in your cooked spaghetti. You can also do linguine, and then make sure you reserve some of that pasta water because that's what's going to create the rest of your sauce. And then you're going to add in some grated Parmesan cheese, and then to plate it up, I just topped it with some chopped green onions and then those garlic chips that we made earlier. Absolutely have to try this recipe, and don't forget to check out Megan's channel. The final dish that I'm sharing today is for this butter and herb pork tenderloin. And if you've been watching my channel for any length of time, there have been a few pork tenderloin recipes. My husband and I are joking that we're just trying them all, and we're going to have a battle of the tenderloin here pretty soon. But this one starts out by brining the pork tenderloin. I did modify it a little bit, but I will have the recipe linked below. But I just started out with 3 cups of warm water, and then to that I added in a 1/4 cup of kosher salt. Mix that together until the salt dissolved, and then you're going to add in your apple cider vinegar. And then I went in with cold water because you want to get this down to temperature before you put it in the Ziploc bag with your pork tenderloin. And then that went in the refrigerator for 20 minutes. While the pork was brining, I went ahead and got our spice rub ready, and that is just going to be some chili powder, garlic powder, salt, onion powder, paprika, and fresh black pepper. And then you're just going to stir that to combine and set aside. I'm also going to, in a separate bowl, combine some dried parsley, basil, oregano, and thyme, and that's going to go on the pork after we sear it before it bakes in the oven. But you do want to have it separate so that way the herbs don't burn when you're searing the pork. Now you can use whatever spices you like here. I did follow the recipe and we absolutely loved this. So if you have those ingredients and you do enjoy them, I do recommend using them. But once the pork was done brining, you don't want to go over 20 minutes per the recipe, and you want to take it out of the brine, rinse it off, pat it completely dry, and then you're going to put your spice mix all over it. And then I did sear these one at a time because I did not want to overcrowd the pan and not get it to get a nice golden brown crust on it. And then they're going to go into some foil. You're going to top it with the herb mixture, and then each piece is going to get a tablespoon of lemon juice, and then 3 tablespoons of butter, which you're just going to kind of lay out across the pork tenderloin. And then you just want to seal that up tightly before placing it into the oven. Now the pork is going to bake at 400 degrees for about 15 to 25 minutes until you reach 145 degrees in the thickest part of it. And while it was cooking, I just went ahead and made up some green beans, and I thought that I would show you my favorite way to do it. These are actually frozen green beans that I cooked in the microwave according to the package, and then I drained them, and then I added them into a pan with some melted butter, salt, pepper, onion, and garlic powder, and I just cooked them down until they start to kind of caramelize a little bit. It adds a lot of flavor to them. I also love doing this in the oven as well. Now if you can get fresh green beans, absolutely use them, but this is really good. If you can't find them, I do recommend trying the recipe with the frozen too, because it really honestly is just as delicious. We're also going to be serving this with some mashed potatoes, but full disclosure, in the midst of the snowstorm, I am using some instant mashed potatoes that I just kind of doctored up with extra butter and seasonings. And so I'm just going to plate the two together with the pork once it comes out. And here you can see one of them I opened up. It is absolutely perfectly moist. I'm checking the temperature here with my thermometer. And then those juices in the bottom with the butter and the lemon juice, you want to use it as your sauce to top it with. So here you're going to see the final dish plated, and I really hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. Please make sure that you subscribe before you go, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.